Okay. Right, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the meeting of the Patent Free Library Board of Trustees. We will follow our usual agenda. Just to the call to order. Let's move on to the Secretary's report, i.e. the minutes of the January 14th meeting. Are there any questions, comments, corrections, etc. to the minutes?
Peggy's got her hand up.
Oh, Peggy?
Yes, on the third page, near the top, there's a sentence sandwiched in between the roof leak and the uncomfortable patron behaviors. It says the governance committee is working on PFL bylaws. I would like to modify that to be a little more precise, informative, to say the governance committee is reviewing PFL bylaws to identify possible changes. I think that's a little more accurate or a little more descriptive of what we're doing in the governance committee.
Right. Okay. Are there any other input to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to accept the minutes with the change that Peggy mentioned?
So moved.
Secondly. So, okay, all in favor? Minutes are approved. Capital campaign update. Now I know Rebecca can't be here today.
Yep, I've got a brief update.
Okay.
So as of February 10th, 2025, our fundraising total stands at $1,391,093. We've had 3 lead gift asks since last month's board meeting, and we have 2 scheduled asks in the weeks ahead. We submitted the Davis Family Foundation grant application a couple of weeks ago. And at our last capital campaign committee, we spent quite a bit of time actively reviewing prospective lists, or a list of prospective donors to deepen our lead gift pool. And we also, Samantha and Rebecca and I, spoke with 2 main libraries that had received congressionally directed spending. And at this time, we've decided that we're not going to take any further action given the changing federal landscape and funding freezes. So we will continue to explore, but that's where we are right now.
And I think we could add that the considered opinion of the people who talked with our colleagues, the other 2 libraries, was it was exceptionally, it was arduous to both to apply and then to administer the grants. So we have to do that with eyes wide open when you come to do it. In fact, one of the libraries actually returned a $50,000 grant because it would be more difficult to administer it than they felt the value added would be.
Right, and one also we heard that it's the getting this money also actually increased the cost of the project
Because of
federal, federal guidelines and things like that. So we're looking at this very closely. Suki, you got your mute is on.
Yeah.
I want to second what you just said, Leslie, because from a municipal standpoint, we tried to do a federal grant and it was hell. We bailed, we struggled through it for 4 or 5 months. And we just didn't go anywhere and it was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have somebody who's used to administering federal grants, don't go there. My opinion.
You need to explore, but that's where we are at this time.
Yeah, but having been there and trying to, I was trying to run the damn, excuse me. I was trying to do the thing myself. It was terrible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. A few comments before we go further. First of all, as is deserving every month, and you can't include, perhaps can't include everyone, and I apologize if I overlooked someone inadvertently, but I wanted to, from reading the monthly staff report, kudos to everyone who worked on setting up the self pickup arrangements. That looks great. You know, I think, and for the reference reorganization, one of my least favorite phrases is doing more with less. But in this case, we're doing more with what we have. That's more realistic and it's great. Repair Cafe seemed to have been another big success. You may have seen there was an article in the Portland Press Herald about 2 weeks ago about such a program at a library, I believe in South Portland or that in that vicinity. I thought it was great to describe program, but the only shortcoming was they should have cast a wider net and reported on all the libraries that do that as well. The statistics for the children's section, for their extensive programming and great attendance. Wow, impressive. And I was glad to read that the town history series, it seems to be becoming even more popular than before. It's certainly been that way when I've watched it remotely. And I think it's worth noting as well that the long-term revenue trend for the library bookstore sales continues to go up. I know I talked last week that we would periodically do a policy review or discussion about certain things that the board felt should be reviewed periodically, such as the mission, et cetera. But I decided I would try to forego that this time, since we do have an executive session, which will take more time, and we'll resume the policy review or discussion type activity next month. Those are my comments. So now we can move on to the librarian's report.
Okay, I'm going to be brief and then I want to turn it over to Elizabeth and Hannah and, well, maybe Hannah and Stephanie to talk about our revamped home delivery service. But a couple things I want to say. One is, as far as our EMC project, I don't really have any updates other than the rest of the lighting has come in. So we were short some fixtures and bulbs. And so I'm waiting to hear about when the electrician may be coming back to finish off. Very, very minimal amount of work left to be done. And I'm still waiting to hear about when the heat pumps are going to come in so they can then work on that next piece. And then the only other want to see if any of you attended the town history series where Lauren gave a presentation. It was fantastic. And I wanted to thank her. There was a lot of work gone into talking about the sanctuary in Georgetown and what was the woman's, what's
Josephine Newman.
Josephine. And that's it. So if you did not, if you didn't attend, you can view it online. She did an amazing job and I'm so anxious for spring to come so that I can get out there and walk and visit that sanctuary, which I've not been to. So did a fantastic job and I've praised her a couple of times and I hope you'll do another one in the future. It was really wonderful. So thank you for participating in that. So other than now, I'm gonna actually turn it over to
Before we can.
Yeah.
I had a couple questions that stemming from the monthly report.
Sure.
And so you can maybe ask that. I think I know the answer to this, but just for the board's general knowledge.
Sure.
Did the architect meet with the staff mid-February to talk more about phase 2? Introduce them and so forth?
Yes.
I thought so, but and then perhaps we can give a brief update about the Windstream bill dispute.
I think that can, maybe Michael, and you can do that.
Sure. Well, as you know, the dispute arose because they, Windstream, indicated that they wanted to suddenly, without any prior warning or notice, charge $1,500 more for the emergency line and the elevator line. And they just did that back last May. And Leslie wrote them asking for a credit saying, why didn't we know about this? We didn't even know we had these lines. And the reason I guess Windstream gave is that they're outdated and they're more expensive to maintain. That I think that's orally what they may have said to you. But nonetheless, they refused to make any accommodation on the bill, and they ended up, well, you got $1,000 off.
3,000,
3,000.
one month's credit.
1 month's credit. And so after that, we're still left with about a $5,400 bill that's outstanding, and they threatened to turn it over to their attorneys, whatever remedies they had under their contract, but this predates your involvement, your employment here, and there's no contract we're even aware of. So it was really just this oppressive bullying type of thing. So what we did is we notified under Maine law, thinking the library is a consumer, we thought we'd get a little leverage by notifying the state attorney generals of a Consumer Protection Act violation. And we laid that out, sent that in, and then I've worked with Carl on a letter, it's ready to go, to them, notifying them that we did this. And that if they were to pursue litigation against the library, that the library would in turn countersue for their consumer protection violation. So it's all in an attempt to, usually you go into executive session for this, but anyway. So we're just trying to work it out fairly.
Yeah.
That's where it stands.
Yeah, the letters, I looked at it, I made a couple suggestions, Mike, as we've done it, so the letter will go out shortly.
And I'm not doing this as an attorney, I'm just a board,
Yeah, right.
because I'm no longer licensed in the state of Maine.
So well
I'm retired.
Put that out there.
Just to let you know, you can't sue me if it's not legal advice.
And then one other question I'm sorry I had, and maybe you can answer this. I know that the interlibrary loan service has been a problem, or it's been spotty or inconsistent. I take it that the main state agency that oversaw this is well aware of the problems that have gone.
They're well aware of the problems. It's been a very frustrating
Yeah.
exercise. But I think they are bound by contract to this new company, and there's really nothing we can do except, the problem for us is that the delivery is so sporadic.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're beholden to move those books. So that if they come, if 20 totes come, that's a tremendous demand on staff in the moment. And then we might have staffing and 2 totes will show up. So it's been tricky to work around that.
Okay, right. Okay, on to happier subjects. Listen.
Okay, so Hannah, would you like to sit here?
You can sit there, I need to
Oh,
load my presentation and share
Okay.
the screen so they can see it too.
I'll just sit here.
Down. Oh, thanks. Okay, librarians don't know everything. Not ashamed to admit it. Well.
It might work if you hit Alt, but that also might do something.
There we go.
Yeah, all right.
Because he-
So I don't know what I did, but. It's all good. Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm the Program and Outreach Manager, and I'm gonna tell you about the home delivery program, and we've just revamped it, and so I'm gonna tell you about everything that we've been working on.
And I just want to make sure everybody, Stephanie Boyle Nielsen, who is our new, I think you met her at another board meeting, but anyway, I just wanted, for those of you who might not have met Stephanie, our new circulation assistant, and she's also involved with Homebound.
Yeah, the home delivery team is myself, Stephanie, Elizabeth, and Debbie Burleson, who also works at the Circ Desk. So the Homebound delivery program, as it was originally called, was identified as a need during the pandemic and began as a pilot program in 2021 with the help of a Common Good grant. The program was initially geared toward residents who were unable to leave their homes due to illness, age, or disability. Volunteers delivered items to patrons in the program bi-weekly, picking up and returning up to 6 items at a time. As of this year, we are expanding the program and relaxing the guidelines, opening up applications to anyone who self-selects as physically unable to visit the library in person and who otherwise would not be able to access library materials for an extended period of time. We have also changed the name to home delivery. Participants in the program must have a library card in good standing and reside in one of our member towns. This includes congregate care, where about half of our current members are housed. Paid non-resident borrowers are not eligible for the program. To apply for the program, patrons need to have a valid PFL library card and live in our service area. They can choose to place their own holds, have library staff select books for them, or a combination. Applications for the program are always open, but acceptance into the program is contingent on staff and volunteer capacity. When a patron is accepted into the program, they let staff know the kind of books they like to read. They are able to receive up to 6 items with each delivery, which happens every 2 weeks via our volunteer drivers. Staff regularly check in on patrons prior to their delivery, and we encourage feedback and dialogue about the book selection via phone, email, or our new feedback forms and bookmarks. In this new expansion, we are able to provide more than just books. Patrons will be able to request items such as grab-and-go kits and puzzles, as well as more information about our digital resources, the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled Talking Book programs, and library events and programs. Just last week, a patron called to request that she be removed from the program due to her failing eyesight, which created the perfect opportunity for staff to call her and talk her through some additional options. The home delivery program provides these valuable touchstones with the library. Recently, a patron sent a broken lamp to the library via her volunteer in the hopes that someone at the next repair cafe can fix it. The lamp expert volunteer not only was able to repair the lamp, but recommended the best kind of light bulb for it, which we included when we sent it back to the patron. That is the lamp, all fixed up. When reconfiguring the program, it became clear that the responsibilities could not fall on a single staff member as it had in the past. We now have a dedicated team behind home delivery, myself, Elizabeth, Stephanie, and Debbie, as well as currently we have 2 volunteer drivers. We generally deliver to about 14 patrons. We would like to grow this program, but as it stands now, we don't have enough staff or volunteers to take on many more patrons. At the start of the program in 2021, it was estimated that the program coordinator would work 5 hours a week, but it turned out to be more. Currently, Stephanie has the only 2 dedicated hours to work on home delivery, which includes calling patrons, processing applications, and selecting, checking out, and packing books. These are the only hours reserved for home delivery. The hours that Elizabeth and myself and Debbie devote to the program are just wrapped into our regular hours. What's next for the program? We are in the process of adding a 3rd volunteer driver, either to act as a backup driver or to take on new patrons. We have identified some needs for the program, such as zipper pouches and dedicated tote bins, and are looking at grant opportunities to fund these. The age-friendly communities of the Lower Kennebec from Georgetown and People Plus from West Bath are working on a regional volunteer transportation network, which we are hoping could bring some of our home delivery patrons into the library on occasion. And we are hoping that future budget cycles could provide funding for additional staff time so we can continue to grow the program. The home delivery program is a valuable resource, particularly for our aging patrons who live outside of Bath. It is also important part of our library accessibility and adaptive services. We have a list of people and places to reach out to as soon as we are able to expand our staff and volunteer capacity. and we are confident that there is enough need in our member communities to grow the program as large as we can handle it. Any questions?
Is there such a thing as too many drivers?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We have to, we have to like vet and train the drivers. So volunteer drivers are also dependent on staff time to be able to do that. But we only have 14 patrons signed up, and there's a whole lot more people than that who I think would benefit from this program.
So the other people that are not signed up cannot be signed up because you don't have the volunteers?
It depends. When we get applications, so we're always open and applications are just accepted on a rolling basis. So currently, I think we could take on a few more people, but not enough people to be able to advertise for it as much as we would like. We're not really advertising for it right now. It's on our website and we'll tell people about it, but we haven't, like if we promote it with like Georgetown, it's like if Jim Peavy put it out there, we would have a flood of applicants, I have no doubt. But we don't want to do that until we feel like the staff can handle it and that that we have drivers who are available.
But do you have any pending applicants right
I
now?
don't think we do we? No.
Are there regular hours that the driver would work?
They typically go out on, is it Tuesday nights? Or they pick up on,
I pack
we
on
pack on
Tuesday
Tuesday,
nights
they
and
pick
then
up
they
on
pick up
Wednesday.
on Wednesday, or sometimes they'll come Tuesday nights. Sandy will come early sometimes. But
Yeah,
But it's flexible beyond that when they actually deliver?
they deliver on Wednesdays. Potentially, we could set up a different day, but right now with only 2 drivers, it's been easiest for Stephanie to keep it all at the same day.
it'd just be nice to know which drivers are going which days, because when I call them to say like, hey, you have books coming tomorrow, like they're expecting them tomorrow. So if somebody shows up a different day, it would be good to know which drivers are going which days, so I can call the right people at the right time.
And because Stephanie's extra hours for this, her off desk time is on Tuesday afternoon. So that's when she gets everything ready to go out on Wednesday. So if someone was coming like on a Monday, she would either have to do it then or someone else would have to do it at a different time. And it's just easier for everything to happen all at the same time.
Yeah, hello.
Anna? And you're.
Hi. What towns do you deliver to? Do you deliver to towns other than Bath?
Yes, anywhere in our service area.
But currently,
Currently, I think we have somebody in every town, don't we? Except for,
I don't know the actual addresses. I know we have both of the homes, and I know one of them is in
Plant
West
Home
Bath
and Hill
technically.
House.
yeah,
Yes, Hill
And
House is in
Woolwich.
West Bath.
Ah,
I don't know
West
their actual
Bath.
addresses though.
I'm not sure about Ross. No.
I'm not sure either, but we have in the past had patrons from all of the towns. I don't know if we currently do. But we had, when it started in 2021, we had, by the end of that pilot program year, we had somebody from every town.
good.
Is this included in the calculations that are done, the books lent out and those type of things? Is this all in there?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much, Anna and Stephanie. It was very good. Move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? Moved. Michael, seconds? Tommy? All right. Vote. Agenda is accepted. Move on to the committee reports, monthly report from the staff through policy and personnel. Discussion, questions? I think I had one question about, this relates to the monthly statistics, which I related. I was wondering about the programming numbers compared to those in recent past years. I saw that in the monthly statistics, there were year-to-date, last year-to-date, year-to-year comparisons, but maybe I missed it, but I didn't see anything about the programming. That was,
Programming should.
It wasn't,
Oh, you know what, I'm sorry, this is the redo. Remember a couple of months ago, I redid it. So we're just tracking the program.
Okay.
We're not doing the comparisons.
okay,
Every once in a while, we'll pull them out, but for this purpose, we're just tracking those and also the collection, we're just tracking, we're not comparing year to year. I didn't really see the value in
Okay.
tracking year to,
okay,
okay?
all right.
You know, I can actually put those in different color blocks, because it does look a little weird.
Yeah, you just have to read it first. It seems like it's,
Yeah.
it should be year to year, and then you realize, no, it's not. That's
Yeah.
a category that doesn't have it. Okay,
I have a question about that same. So just looking, I'm always surprised at how close the statistics are from year to year. And you've been doing this for a while. How is that possible? Like,
Well, that's always reassuring.
Yeah, but why, what, I mean, we're only talking difference of 7 books.
Right. Right.
How?
Um,
It's
I don't
magic.
It's Sierra, these are numbers that are calculated. We
Yeah.
pull these from a
Yeah.
report.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
So
But
we are-
also
we are-
people's behaviors, they're
Mm.
seasonal for one, but they're habitual too, I think,
Habitual.
right?
Right, that's it.
Yeah.
But you don't read in the library journal and they talk about it. See. This is why, the psychology of why the statistics don't change.
Yeah, I can look, I'll look in the literature, see if anyone,
Did you see that?
I'm sure someone's written a paper.
Yeah, right.
How predictable library is.
I just, here's one, it's only difference of 1 book between the adult material circulated in
That's not
25
usual. I
and
don't,
24.
yeah, I think if you look month to month, that's an anomaly. That's not usual.
Okay.
It's, you know, it's fairly close, but it's not usually that
That's
close.
But you want it to be those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's,
So
yeah,
you know
that's,
you're-
that is unusual. I think it's just a coincidence in that case.
Sometime we'll talk about it on Tuesday morning.
Maggie has a question.
Peggy,
I wanted to, I wanted to ask about the audio, the quality of the audio. I noticed, I think it was Elizabeth in your report, you acknowledged the audio for Lauren's talk, for example, was poor. That is the YouTube audio. Will
We
the audio, when we get the recording, will that be better?
Yes, we've had some repair work done. We had a technician come out and adjust the microphone settings. It's been repaired.
Oh, okay, so, okay.
It's been repaired.
Does that mean the audio on that recording will be different than the way that it was a week ago?
No, it just means going forward.
Right. That's what she was asking.
Well, what I'm
We can't go
asking,
back and fix the audio on that particular recording.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Leslie?
We can't go back and fix the audio on that recording, but the audio has been repaired.
But that doesn't help the recording of Lauren's talk.
No, we cannot go back and fix that. There is nothing I can do about that. We have fixed the problem going forward. That's all I can do. That's all we can do. We had someone come out and fix the problem. I can't,
yeah,
we
okay.
can't fix the
Suki?
audio.
I can confirm that the problem has been fixed because I can hear everybody this time from the last time.
Yeah, we had a technician come out right away. Yeah.
Much better, much better.
Okay. I think when it comes to Finance Committee, I think one thing we could say besides what was in Tommy's report, he alluded to the fact that Leslie, he and I met with Bath City officials in the last month and sort of broached again presented the idea of the revised funding model. Mark Myers and the finance director,
Yeah, Julie Millett.
Julie Millett, and then the new chair of the city council. They took in all the information, asked questions, didn't raise objections, but of course cautioned that it's the city council's decision, not theirs, whether to accept it. I think Leslie left them with gave them a lot of information about the historical trends and the need to rebalance, if you will, the money coming from community contributions versus the endowment. So I would say they were non-committal, but certainly receptive. But I would invite either Leslie or Tommy to add something too.
I mean, it really wasn't any revelation compared to when we met with them a few months ago. But it was everybody understood what we were doing and why, and there were no really concerns raised.
And we explained, of course, why we were coming to Bath first, because they're the lion's share. And in the remodeled funding model, they would pay proportionally higher share of the expenses than the other communities. Which in the past, in the meeting we had in April, they accepted that principle, at least, that they could understand why Bath might be, if you will, pay a higher share.
What are the next steps?
Leslie's going to provide, what you say, I know you have to provide.
Yeah, so the next steps are, I'll be working on tomorrow, sending out all the funding requests for the towns in the city of Bath, and then we start meeting. I'm arranging Woolwich has reached out, the select board or the town administrator, to meet with the select board. So I'm arranging that meeting. Carl and I will go, and any other, we'll meet with Bath in April for their city council meetings. So it's just starting to discuss our request as towns request to meet with us. So the next step is the funding requests will go out in the next couple of days, and we'll start to hear or not hear from towns if they would like to meet in preparation for town meeting. Yep. That's the plan.
An update that isn't much of an update, but I did, since last week, I've tried to call the CPA twice, asking about the status of our tax form 990. He has not yet called me back. Today I called again and he was supposedly out doing an audit. So I will continue calling. Unless I try to take over his office by force someday. But anyway, so it was mentioned before, and Leslie's tried repeatedly.
Many
and
times.
Non-responsive. So, okay.
Carl,
Mhm.
I had a question in the building and technology report.
Okay.
There was a comment in there about that a Supreme Court case could impact library access to the internet, something about E-rate. And I was just curious about that. Do you know anything about it? Does anyone?
I do not.
I was not at the last meeting. I was ill, so I don't know what that conversation was about. So I will have to get some
I know a little bit.
Okay.
E-rate is how schools and libraries pay for internet. And it's being challenged as unconstitutional because the way that it's paid is on your phone bill.
Oh, yeah.
If you still get a paper bill, there's a little surcharge.
Yes.
And so in Maine, every citizen of Maine pays the surcharge. That goes to the schools and libraries to pay for our internet connection. It's
Oh.
astounding to me that it has made it all the way to the Supreme Court. It'll be
Okay, so that's
interesting,
what-
right,
okay,
right.
that's what it's
So
about. All right.
I think no matter what the Supreme Court says, we'll just have to find another mechanism to do the same thing. Unless they say that. So that's
Okay.
what I know about.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, I didn't know.
So yeah.
I had a couple comments to the governance committee report, I know it's still discussions, as Peggy described, are still very much active about the review of and perhaps modification of the bylaws. But one of the points was about the use of the definition of residence and whether to drop that. I was just wondering if instead of dropping that, you might specify a term that just being explicit about seasonal or part-time residents of the served communities? I mean, do we also want to have people from outside the served communities as part of our, you know, serving on committees or being more involved? So I don't know, but that's just that was my initial thought. I also wondered if the quote corporator emeritus status as a way to massage the corporator issue might just be rather difficult to administer, or whether it's worth the effort. Maybe we should look at, instead of, you know, just ending the corporator status for people who aren't active.
Well, it was an idea that was thrown out.
Okay.
It seemed to move the needle, so to speak,
Okay.
on this issue of, when you're done, I'd just like to make a couple of comments.
Okay. And the last thing was about, there's the idea of, and I think we've talked about this before in the committee. I was not at the last meeting, couldn't be there, but about perhaps reducing the total number of corporators, but increasing the number of trustees to perhaps include ongoing representation from each of the served communities instead. Just throwing that out there as a way to, but that's something to think about.
Well, I do want to thank members of the committee, Rick, Kessler, Tommy, Peggy, Carl usually is there, wasn't there at the last meeting, Suki, and Mary Ellen Casmer has joined us and brings a lot of institutional knowledge to the table. So we appreciate all that input, obviously. We are involved in discussions on various changes in the bylaws. Some are easier to do than others. For example, it seems that what is posted now on the website for bylaws does not include the changes that were made at the last annual meeting. You know, just minor things like that we pick up that can be easily rectified. Obviously, anything else that's substantive, and our discussions have been very substantive. But anything that's substantive needs to be prepared in some way, come to the trustees to be vetted, and then go to the annual meeting in October. So this is kind of a long-term conversation at this point. It is interesting, you know, there are things, you know, for example, in two places, the funding model is embedded in the bylaws. So whether or not the changes that we are considering, and I can't speak to them in detail, you know, Tommy, you can, and Carl and Leslie, whether or not they run counter to what's included in the bylaws is something, well, you know, you'll have to filter. I think it'll be the recommendation of the committee at this point going forward to take those references out so that it doesn't become a hindrance in the future. There are also some interesting things. There's a requirement for an annual meeting of the trustees to follow within 30 days of an annual meeting of the corporators. Something in my experience has never been done. So we should think about what that actually means.
Seems redundant, since the trustees will be meeting less than a month afterwards anyway, with just on its normal schedule.
But it explicitly calls it an annual meeting of the trustees, not a regular meeting of the trustees. But, you know, we regularly meet 30 days after the corporate meeting, but not as an annual meeting. And it doesn't, you know, the bylaws don't specify what unique business is to be conducted at that annual meeting. It just says
Maybe a party.
Maybe a party. Maybe a
That's
party.
my plan.
It's good. That's why we put you on.
Went to that meeting, annual party, that's what we should say.
But make a note here that Anthony wants to plan the.
But since Anthony has raised his hand, Anthony also causes us to violate another restriction in the bylaws, which says that we can't have more than 15 trustees. And I think adding Anthony as a trustee put us up to 16. So
We change that. I will update the website. I will update.
I'm worth the violation.
Update the changes.
I voted at the last corporate meeting.
well, we voted to make him a trustee, but now we've changed that reference.
Oh,
To
we have a conflict
15,
of
16, so
conflict of
we
bylaws.
created a conflict with them.
I also believe
It's
our
really
bylaws,
live.
we have to send changes to the state when we make changes to our bylaws as an
They do
organization.
have to be
So-
memorialized with the state. with the
Yes, we do,
Secretary
which
of
I
State.
will do
Yep.
that as well. At least for the last year's changes.
So there are things like that, for example, and again, just one quick one, the bylaws require us to do an annual audit. And we don't do audits, we do financial reviews. So again, we should just make that neutral language and look for the appropriate term that would enable us to either do a financial review or an audit at some point in the future, but the bylaws specifically call for an audit. Trickier issues are the corporators, I won't call it a tricky issue, but, you know, we came up with the idea as perhaps a way going forward, if we're going to recommend that the number of corporators be reduced, that those individuals who may no longer want to serve as corporators be offered the opportunity to serve as a corporator emeritus. That's how that came in. So they still feel a connection to the library, but they don't become part of our annual effort to to reach that hundred corporator threshold. And things that I've got to get together with Leslie on, there's language in here which refer back to the original gift to the library from Mr. Patton. And so I'm wondering if there's an accounting of that original gift somewhere in our historical
Oh, I'm
records.
sure there is, yeah,
But
okay.
we'll
look for-
talk about it.
Oh, yeah,
We'll talk
sure.
about that. going forward.
Okay.
But it's been a very interesting process to this point. Like I said, it's be my plan. I haven't discussed it with the committee necessarily, but my plan is we'll try to triage these, simpler things to deal with, and then the more complex things to deal with. And then periodically, I'd like to bring them to the trustees so we can begin a discussion, first of the easy things that we can tick off and prepare for the October annual meeting, and then more complex things that we can think through, and again, decide whether or not we want to recommend it as bylaw changes at the annual meeting. So that's it. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Leah.
Before Leah asks the question. Well, I'm not sure she has this question, but Leah has brought up, and I think you've raised it, Leslie, regarding the rotation of municipal, and we should reach out to West Bath to get that name. West Bath's next on the list, I guess. I think we will address it, but until we make the bylaw change, the current protocol is for that municipal member, that rotating municipal member to join us. So we should move forward with that. That is something we're looking at, and I think Carl kind of alluded to it, and maybe a way, our problem with the rotating municipal members, they don't join us in a timely way for them to make a significant impact and input during that one year period. So as Carl alluded to, one thought that did come up was instead, perhaps we'll just give every municipality an additional seat. That way it's a much more regular, much more planned, and it might lead to the municipalities, the towns recommending that person for 1 or 2 years, and at which point that person can begin to feel comfortable with their role as a trustee and make a contribution. I'm not looking at you, Lauren. but-
I'm looking right at you. I talked to Carl about it briefly,
Yeah.
not about the bylaws and all that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just to say, this is not enough time because I'm just trying to figure out your names still. I don't, because nobody, a couple people are wearing, but I know more about what I can ask question, who can answer which questions than I know. But still, I'm green, really green, and it's fascinating. I don't want to give it up, but at the same time, I realize that it's not fair for me to hog it all.
Well, it's not, this is an issue. And
I think it's a
your
great
experience is not a
idea.
unique experience at all.
Right, and I think it's a great idea, and I think the people, right, if you just say, yeah, you can come for a year and then you're chopped meat, it's just like, nobody wants to do it. I was the only one that wanted to do it.
Okay.
So.
Leah, you have a question?
Yeah, just an additional comment and conversation with Leslie is that even the process of how that member is solicited, it has not been consistent. So that may not be a bylaw, it may be more of a procedural, but that has not been done in the same way each year. So Leslie had stated she was waiting for input from the governance committee about next steps with that regard. And I think one example is saying that she approached Bath directly herself, and that they also have a set rotation that they do. But the municipalities are not that way. So there's not been a consistent pattern about how the rep.
I do not approach Bath at all. They just automatically, assign I do not.
Yeah, I
approach.
stand corrected, sorry.
So Chris can tell you every year, they just, when you assign new city councilors, they get assigned. I don't approach, and everyone's different, like, Peggy reached out to Georgetown, so we need a set.
Well, Bath does it as a part of their committee selections, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So
Like Main Street,
yeah.
Bath, their board is a part of committee selection, you all do it as a part of
It's all
committee
part of our
selection.
committee thing in the December,
Right.
mid-December meeting.
Right, I do not reach out to Bath, so there are different situations, plus I also think when we do, it's very unclear as to what the expectation is for that municipal. So we need a letter, we need very, very specific information that we share, so they understand what the expectation is.
Well, we'll address it, we'll fix it.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Again, it's an October thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we need to proceed as, even if it's a fumbling way to go forward, we need to proceed with West Bath. And we'll talk.
Oh, I agree, right, I'm absolutely
Okay.
agree, because we don't, right, the bylaws are still what they are, so we do,
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Are there any other comments on the consent agenda, committee reports? The treasurer's report.
All right, let's start with the balance of the endowment. As of yesterday, February 10th, it is $8,785,978.26. I said that slow enough. And then let's do cash report. Are there any questions on that? All fairly straightforward. I don't think there's anything big to note there. And then moving to the P&L from December. Does anybody have any questions on that? Again, I don't think we have anything to notate. Tommy or Leslie, do you recall? I don't remember anything nominal or anything to mention.
Well, Leslie addressed about the insurance costs.
Insurance.
Running
Right.
over.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing.
And that had to do, remind me, Leslie, was that the premiums?
Actually, just the increases were more than expected this year. We usually budget about a 5% increase, and the trend across all policies was more, I don't know what the percentage, but was significantly more.
I can tell you that happened at my house too.
Yeah, I think that must have just a unexpected trend. That's been the biggest jump that I've seen in the 15 years.
Yep.
So we'll have to look at that closely.
Yeah,
Any better
no,
answers.
we're not alone. That's happening all across the insurance market. Everybody's experiencing that.
Okay. There is no development report this month because the development committee now meets every
We
2
have-
months, correct?
Eileen has
I
some
have an
stuff to
update,
talk
Tom.
about.
Oh, you have an update?
Anyone want to hear from Ellen?
Okay,
Love to.
okay, got the town report, okay.
We have, as of today, we have $102,616 in gifts with $13,242 in open pledges. And the next thing on the horizon is the spelling bee, which hopefully everybody's going here at the table is gonna attend. It's on Friday, May 9th. Doors open at 6:30 and it begins at 7. Tickets are on sale now. I went and bought mine today, $25 each, $5 if you're a Morse student. And I think we're limiting to 10 teams this time.
10 teams,
10
yeah, it
teams.
was a little unruly with 12.
It's very unruly, but in a fun way.
It was, but surprisingly, the chocolate church stage isn't as big as I hoped, so.
It is not as big as it seems.
Yeah, no.
So please buy tickets, encourage others to buy tickets. It's really fun time if you haven't been. We do need sponsors for 2 high school teams. So if anyone's interested in sponsoring, if you're affiliated with a business or know of a business or just yourself want to sponsor a high school team, those are some of the most entertaining teams to watch.
They won last year.
They won last year, right?
What does sponsoring involve?
It's the team fee, so it's $100. I don't ask the high school kids to come up with the team fee, but we don't want to lose out on the money for it.
Okay.
So in the past, the Friends have offered to do that, but I don't know if that's gonna happen this year, so I'm kind of putting it out to a broader group.
Okay.
And related to the spelling bee, we're gonna do a silent auction this time as opposed to baskets, so some sort of larger items are needed, so we'll need to put our heads together and think about that and or donate said items for the auction. So that's the end of my spiel.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and teams, if anybody wants to sign up to be a team, I forgot to bring it up with me, but I have forms. But Allison has already signed up a team of board members, some board members. And the PFL movie group is back. So we've got 2 teams, so.
Peggy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just wondering where in the chocolate church will it be? In the annex or in the, where?
On the stage.
And the main stage and you're gonna, are we gonna be at tables?
Nope.
We'll have to be sitting in seats, you mean?
Yep.
Oh,
It's not gonna be, it's a little later. There's not gonna be dinner this time, mostly because that's impossible to organize, but there will be food,
No
but it won't be
food?
like there will
no
be
food?
Will be food, but there won't be like a seated dinner. It's a loss, basically.
I
It
don't
costs me
know.
too much to do it, so I know Mark won't come, right?
I know, and Mark may not come if there's no food.
Just won't be dinner.
I don't blame you at all.
No, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get the chamber to get rid of doing that.
Okay.
for a while.
Okay, town area school activities. We talked about the upcoming meeting with West Bath on it's March, Woolwich, March 3rd.
I don't know yet. I have to confirm
To
that.
be confirmed, but yeah, that's tentative plan. Anything else? Activities going on? Old business. I think we did some updates with Windstream and a couple other things. That's already been done. New business, the non-resident card fee.
Okay, I'd like to, you've all had a chance to take a look at the information I sent you. So every so often we do take a look and analyze our non-resident card fees. So the last time the board approved an increase was for fiscal year 2021. So we are due to look at it again. And I did some digging. Historically, we've sort of increased them every 3 to 4 years. And so the last time we increased was again fiscal year 2021, and we increased from $60 to $70. So what I have done, I did some calculations so you could see what our current assessment is and what different fees would look like if So the numbers I'm showing you are if this number of cardholders or if the population, all of that population were to pay that non-resident fee. So it's just kind of a comparison piece. But I will tell you, we have approximately, we don't have a lot of non-resident card holders. So we have, we ran a report just the other day in Sierra. So we have approximately about 125 non-resident card holders that have been active within the past 2 years. So a non-resident card is good for 1 year. So that so and it's everybody renews at different times. So it's just whenever their card expires, it starts the next day, or I'm sorry, it starts the day that they pay to renew their card. So it's on a rotating basis. So on average per year, we have maybe 50 or 60 cards. So I think last year we raised in revenue for non-resident fees just a little over $4,000. We have we also have a $25 3-month card. So not all cards are full years. Most of them are, but there are, we call it, some people in the summer will do a 3-month summer resident. Most of our card holders come from Phippsburg. So of that, about 125, they're about 48, about 37% are Phippsburg residents. We've got about 15 card holders from Wiscasset, about 11 from Brunswick, Dresden, Westport Island, we have 8, and then it sort of trickles down to a few here and there. So it's not a huge revenue source, but it does, you know, our budget, you know, has been increases every year. And so the cost of doing business and the cost of running the library goes up. And so we do need to increase our non-resident fees to align with those expenses. So I actually turned it over, so the finance committee discussed this, we reviewed this information at the meeting, and I think there is a recommendation from the finance committee based on our conversation. So do you want to make that as, or?
Yes, we landed at
85.
85, right, yeah. So the finance committee voted to recommend a change from 70 to 85 for the non-resident.
And it looks like the
Fee remain the same.
so I was actually thinking, so the 3-month fee would go, we could keep it the same or go to $30.
Yeah, I don't think, we didn't really land on anything.
No.
Right, we didn't, right. So maybe thinking $30 for the 3-month, or we could leave it at 25.
The 3-month is generally is it generally calculated on the 12-month, but prorated? Is that?
We didn't exactly, I don't think how we did the 3-month, because the 3-month is a newer, we didn't used to have a 3-month, but we found that, you know, we wanted to accommodate summer residents and people that were renting. So not necessarily, you know, there are a lot of summer residents that own property, and that's very different. They get a card, but we have people that are renters for the summer, and they, so we wanted to accommodate people that wanted to borrow materials from the library that were here for a shorter period of time that didn't own property. So we just sort of we came up with it was just kind of a nice number. I don't even think we prorated it to the.
Gotcha.
Because it was $70 when we did 25, so I don't know how the numbers work out.
I would just add that on a percentage basis, going from, I guess, from 70 to 85 is a little more percentage wise than when we went from 60 to 70. 60 to 70 is 1/6. This is a little bit more. 60%. A sixth increase would be about $82. So it's still in the same range.
Compared to how we're increasing the municipal rates.
So,
Calculation.
yeah, no, but that was,
Leslie, based on the current numbers, what would be the total of additional revenue?
it's not gonna be significant, but they're right, it's not gonna be, but if you look at if you look at these numbers, there's other,
I am looking at, yeah, so it would be the next to the last column that.
yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, we could propose 30, we could keep it 25, but I do really think we need to increase the in keeping up with the costs of running the library.
Okay.
So this is something the board does vote on. So we could set it, it looks like the last time it was voted in the minutes, began in the new fiscal year. So it was approved in March to begin in the following fiscal year.
Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion.
Suki has a hand up.
Suki,
I just have a question on in the current municipal assessment, that's what we're charging per person, is that right? Per
$20 and
and 64 cents per
64
per
cents
resident?
currently.
Okay, I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
all right.
So you asked the question. Did anybody figure the amount that,
Increase is.
no, about, I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
The gross revenue, that was. is that-
So if I live in Georgetown, how much of, and if we know how many people live in Georgetown and what the cost to the town is going to be, we ought to be able to figure out how much that is costing each person in Georgetown to use the library, right? Does that make sense?
No, because it costs, in Georgetown, it currently costs everybody $21.64 to use the library,
As long as they are,
as long as they're a member town.
right.
per capita.
And so why is it so much more for the other people?
Because we are also, that's the benefit of being a member town, because we are using endowment and other things to make up the difference. It costs so much more than, so this is why the member towns get those added benefits, because we can count on this revenue. So that's why it's important to have member towns, because we are subsidizing this by using our endowment and our fundraising in ways that we are not, because we can't project what we're going to get when somebody, so that's why it's so important to have these partnership with the
I
towns.
appreciate that. I looked at the Curtis Library and they charge $75. So, and that library is just,
But they also receive more municipal funding than we
right,
do.
right.
So
So
we-
it's many more things in the
It's many,
formula.
right.
Yeah,
they're like correct.
85% of their budget is funded
through the
city of
It's just because of the way we're funded and how much, right?
Do the people that have to buy these cards ever give feedback about the
The
cost?
amount, cost to the,
They,
Or maybe they're not asked, so they just,
it's still,
I'm sorry,
They're selecting they select them.
Yeah.
right,
It's a self-selection thing, so
Right,
you would
yeah.
assume
Yeah.
that they're satisfied with
Right.
the
If
70.
they've come that far, probably.
it's still a very
Still
good, I mean,
cheaper
they're
than
getting
buying
so many
books.
services
Sure.
for
Yeah.
the,
Not to mention everything else that you get with it, tickets to the museum and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
member.
Just doing that alone will save you money right there.
Maybe it'll jumpstart the conversation with Pittsburgh again. If people in that town get the bill.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about this
Dawn's
again. Yeah.
Is this per family or per individual?
individual, we don't
Thank
do
you.
family cards.
Thank you.
But there's no reason they couldn't.
There's no reason they couldn't, Every card has like a key card and
Adults are not allowed to read children's.
Isn't that right?
so I guess we need a motion.
okay, anything else? Otherwise, we could entertain a motion. I guess the idea would be to raise the full non-resident fee to 85 and the 3-month to 30.
I'll move it.
Michael has made the motion.
I'll second.
Eileen has seconded. Dawn is also,
This, can I just clarify, this would go into effect in the new fiscal year? Okay.
right, the new fiscal year. All in favor? Approved. Yes, unless there's something more that needs to be said in the regular session, we would move now into executive session.
Stop the recording.
Okay. Accepted. We will now move into executive session.
The recording. Aha, thank you.